Hi, this is Jordan. This month's XDA Developer TV is brought to you by the Samsung Smart App Challenge 2012. Enter for your chance to win your piece of over $4 million in cash prizes by clicking the banner at the top of XDADevelopers.com or by visiting developer.samsung.com. It is Friday, June 15, 2012, and let's talk a little bit about what happened over at the XDA site this week. First and foremost, by far the biggest story that I saw over on the XDA site this week was that the Galaxy S3 was discovered to work with a plethora of USB devices. And actually not just USB devices, but Bluetooth devices, game controllers, all sorts of things. XDA senior member NZ Tech Freak posted an extremely in-depth video on his channel, which is a very popular channel apparently, demonstrating all the different things that he figured out you can do with your Samsung Galaxy S3, including using an on-the-go adapter to connect external hard drives to it, hooking up USB hubs with multiple devices connected to it, Xbox and PlayStation 3 controllers, Wiimotes, keyboards, mice, doing all sorts of fun things with it. If you have about a half an hour to devote to it, it is definitely worth giving that video a watch. And if you have the Galaxy S3 and you don't have one of these micro USB to USB on-the-go adapters, you may want to look into picking one up because this sounds like some really entertaining stuff. He also demonstrates using an MHL adapter that is very specific to this device. You have to have one that has a specific 11-pin connector instead of the 5-pin traditional one. Not sure what I think about that. I'll have to see how much the actual connector is, the adapter is, just to see what I think. I mean, if it's more than a few dollars, I'm going to be a little bit peeved about that. In other connectivity type news, XDA recognized contributor Renate NST posted a thread this week talking about what they have done to their Nook Touch. Basically, she attached the Nook Touch to a microphone stand. She hooked up using a USB on-the-go adapter and a USB hub to keyboards, and she's using this as a music device so that she can show her sheet music on the device itself, play the keyboard on one keyboard, and then change the page with a foot pedal, which she's actually using a keyboard for. A really interesting kind of modification and another good addition to our hardware hacks forum. So if you'd like to learn more about what she has done with her device and maybe submit some tips and tricks of your own if you have anything like that, definitely head over to the thread and over to that forum specifically. In other big news on the site this week, there was an exclusive interview with CyanogenMod Developer Ricardo Cerqueira, and surprisingly enough, I would kind of have expected this to be mostly about CyanogenMod itself, but it turned out to be more about Ricardo, which is perfectly fine. It is very nice to get to know your developers. So if you'd like to read the one-on-one interview with the man behind one of the most popular ROMs that's available out there, go ahead and check out the article over on the XDA site. Now moving on to some rooting news, if you have the HTC One X, at this point the only way that you've been able to root it is to downgrade the firmware, root it, and then upgrade again. Well, that has all changed, at least temporarily, thanks to XDA senior member B-Ups. He discovered an exploit that is only usable on the AT&T and Rogers versions of the One X, and he's pretty well convinced that AT&T or whoever else could shut it down anytime now, so if you have the One X and you're running firmware 1.85, definitely go check this out if you're interested in rooting your device, if you haven't already in the previous method I mentioned. I would also like to mention, Adam Outler pointed out there was a bounty associated with this root, this exploit, and B-Ups knows about it. He's already decided he's going to be donating the entire proceeds from it to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, so that is just absolutely amazing. 2 thumbs up and a little round of applause, a small golf clap for that one. And speaking of developers and giving back to the community and things of that nature, there are often questions associated with doing development for a site like XDA. There was a post created on the XDA site this week clarifying the XDA developer's position on the GPL. Essentially the way that it goes, if you modify the kernel, the stock Linux kernel in any way, you agree that you're going to post the sources and make them all GPL compliant. Anything that you post you're certifying is GPL compliant, that you will make the sources available. Now the cool thing about that is if you've got your sources available and something happens to you, or you just decide to leave the project, or somebody else wants to take it and run with it and create something even cooler than what you've done, that is now an option. So that's just sort of a little FYI. If you're doing any sort of kernel development and you're doing it on the XDA site, do make sure that what you're doing is GPL compliant. And of course, make sure to read the article over on the XDA site just to see why they're on this stance and why you should possibly consider being so also. And of course, the last thing I'd like to mention, if you haven't seen it already this week, XDA Elite Recognized Developer and XDA TV producer Adam Outler put out another tutorial this week. However, this one is How to Build an Android App Part 4, talking about Brian Lunduke's Illumination software creator. If you're not familiar with it, Brian made all of his software open source in the last couple of weeks, and specifically, Illumination Software Creator can be used to make cross-platform software, again, software that's available on whatever platform you want to use it on. There are so many that it's ridiculous, and it's done for people that are not coders, so you can just drag and drop for the most part. But Adam shows you how to take that and then put it into Eclipse, and you can actually take Eclipse and then edit the source code that's been generated. So very interesting video, very interesting project. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend taking a look at it. As always, all of the stories that I've talked about can be found down in the video description, and there are a bunch of other ones available on the XDA Developers site that I didn't get a chance to talk about. But that is all from me for today. If you like this video, please do hit the like button down below, and if you want to be notified when we put out new content, hit the subscribe button up above. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in a few days.